All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Silas.
And I'm Aaron.
And I'm Zane.
And today's been an interesting morning. I am sick.
Yes, he is.
Dad
Been
is in a
whining all
mood.
morning.
He's sick of me, I think.
Zane's been gone for 2 weeks, so we just saw each other.
Vacation. Yep.
And it's going to be an interesting morning. But we have a very important life update first. And that is that we're not going to do life updates anymore.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We're going to jump straight to
I
the
like that
matter
one.
because I've been
Good.
told that's a lot more fun.
Wow.
But we're not
before
going to
that-
talk
people
about
don't
our
like
favorite
us.
flavors of ice cream again.
Is
It
that
changed.
sarcasm?
It changed. Well, just for the record, what did it change to? I'm not curious.
Hey, you're already not talking into your microphone.
Thank you.
I
No,
made
I do have a important question for our listeners, though.
I was listening. Zane.
Really quick, we are debating about changing the name of this podcast,
No.
which Dad doesn't know yet.
Rebranding.
It has to be. Our two options are bold parenting or
Ooh.
parenting boldly.
dun dun dun.
So drop your thoughts in the comments. Leave which one you think is a better name, and we'll kind of go from there because it's been kind of highly debated which one's better.
And you get 30% off your merch purchases for whoever wins this contest.
Amen. We don't have merch,
Well,
so
we
actually I'll
don't.
give you 100%
We'll
off.
put a survey on our X feed, so go follow our X
We have
page.
3 followers on
I know.
X.
I'm trying to get more followers,
Ooh,
so
I like
we'll
this.
put the.
I don't even know what an
survey
X feed is. Sounds
Or
good.
Twitter for those old guys. Dad.
Oh,
on
Unk.
there. Yeah.
Unc. I'm not your uncle. I'm your
He's
father.
the
All right.
hose.
So back to non-life updates.
So today we have a very wonderful question written in from somebody from I don't know where, but Zane has a question for us, so we're going to jump straight into it.
Jane Doe says,
Yes. So Jane Doe writes in and she
Wait,
asks.
pause. If you write in a question and you want us to say your name, then just say that, so that way we don't throw you under bus if you don't want it. But if you say it,
True.
we'll say your name. You get a shout out, free shout out.
like our producer today wanted her name said because Gabriella's gone skiing, so we have Stefanovic,
Stefanovich the Fourth.
otherwise known as Stephanie.
She's Russian.
She is. She's rushing through this. Sorry.
Okay, so
Anyway.
our listener wrote in, would love to hear some advice about still being a parent to an adult child, not married but living out of the house. How much guidance and
Not
help
married.
should we still give, and when do we let them just figure things out and learn the hard way? It's hard when you have children living in the house and then also children outside of the house and still wanting to be a parent to both, but knowing that your role has changed. So adult children, mainly living outside the home, what is a parent's role?
That question has like 8 questions inside of it.
It does.
Which is good.
Question wrapped in a question wrapped in a dream. This is like Inception question.
Ooh, it's like a jalapeno popper.
Why are we recording this morning?
So,
I do not want to
I'm
be
thinking
here.
about
What's
a lot
your
of food.
what do they want, first of all?
Okay, let me actually
Jump in.
yeah, we're going to jump straight in cuz something that jumped out to me was the question of this is just an interesting question. When do you let them fail and find out the hard way for
When
themselves?
they're 6 and 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should be doing this all along. But anyway,
Cuz the idea isn't that they leave the home and now you let them do it.
right.
Otherwise
The
you're just
consequences are a lot bigger.
Right, but I bet she's asking
She is.
what, like, should we ever say anything? Because
Right.
obviously when your kids are at home, yeah, you should let them fail at things, but then you're going to guide them. You're going to disciple them through that. So maybe what does that look like as they transition into
Sure.
adulthood? And is there like a difference? This is just a question that popped in my head between men and women.
no.
You said you had a
We're very
an
feministic.
initial thought, Silas. 'Cause I can set some parameters on this, but after your initial thought.
Well, I want to hear before you go cuz you're the only one here with actual real life experience in this one.
True.
Actually in most things on this podcast, but we have lots of thoughts for you.
You keep the show rolling. So that's
Zane, what did your parents do? So you started college, and that was your first time living out of the home. So how did that relationship transition for you?
Well, I went off to college and pretty much did my own thing. I went home on the
we
weekends.
see how that ended. So
Yeah.
this is a good precautionary episode.
Isn't he happily married and living a great life
Yes,
working
he
for
is.
you?
My parents were very much like, you're your own man. We don't want to tell you what to do, which I appreciated. There was definitely times where I didn't know what I was doing and I made mistakes, and it would have been nice to have somebody there like encouraging me, pointing me in the right direction. I don't know if that would have been my parents' role, or maybe I should have had more like mentorship set up on campus.
Well, you're setting us up for the good conversation. This
Or
is good.
both.
So what were you going to say, Silas? There's Zane's. So you
Oh,
went off to
mine?
college.
Um,
You're the first kid we legitimately sort of discipled in terms of like setting it up.
yeah, so that sort of started when I was probably in my sophomore year. The first year was kind of just happy-go-lucky. Yeah, sophomore year we started doing more discipleship,
Right.
which it helped a lot because you always have, like, I was still technically, quote-unquote, like, under your roof because you're helping pay for room and board. But it's a lot harder to obey and, like, listen to somebody when you're not, like, actively living with them and you think you're an adult and you have it all ready to go and you think you have it all figured out, except for the part where you sustain yourself financially.
Yeah, which is
like,
everything.
the biggest part.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that a lot of kids, me especially, I was like, oh yeah, I'm my own man. Like, why is he trying to tell me what to do? I'm like, well, he pays for everything and I'm living in a college bubble. So, but I think once sophomore year came around, we started meeting every week and going out, and that helped our relationship a lot, I think, because it allowed us to actually have a relationship rather than the only conversations were when I was home for the weekend and you're like,
Right.
you know, checking in, like, are you doing what you should be?
Then you feel like you're just in trouble when we talk rather
Yeah.
than it's an ongoing conversation.
And we've talked a lot about this, but that was an interesting period where we probably made a lot of mistakes and figured things out and had a lot of harder conversations because you were just starting the whole discipleship process with everybody. And so it was an interesting time, but I think it definitely helped our relationship a lot. I think we can kind of we'll go more into that, into the whole whether or not you are discipling your kids before this transition happens matters a lot.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much everything because you try to step in and it will feel like they're just in trouble or maybe they are in trouble. I remember when you like went down that some kids get into drugs, some kids get into other kind of foolishness and you got into cheerleading and we had to
I got into chasing a girl.
we had to really pull back the reins and like, you know, try to get some control of things again. No, but seriously, there is a sense of like when that person asks, what's our role? It really is, what was your role?
Yeah.
And then what are they still allowing? Allowing by, number one, being subsidized still. So there's nothing wrong with helping your kids, I don't think at least, if you have the ability financially to help them with, you know, on our insurance, for example, or coming home for the weekends and, you know, mom helping you, you know, stay outfitted with decent clothing, things of that nature that would come up. So we still had a financial pull in your life, which you weren't really ready, and we don't want you to be ready per se, to completely take control yet. And it's not that you couldn't, but you made the decision, I want to be, you know, at that point a nurse, so I want to be, you know, I have to get educated for that. We could not provide that. So you weren't ready to say, I'm ready to be independent. So mom and dad, I still need some help.
Yeah.
And with that help comes, I think, some authority because you still are asking to be under their protection, right? But obviously it is a little different. It's different in the sense of unless they're doing something that's blatantly wrong, right? It's more just guiding and counseling. In the old, like growing kids, they used to say things like phases of parenting. You had, you know, parenting and then friends and coaches kind of thing. And if that's legit, which I think it's, you know, mostly legit,
What stage are we at?
we would be the coaching. Now we're just friends. I don't know.
No.
frenemies.
Frenemies.
So
We're,
in
you're
those
like
days,
my froach.
yeah, there you go, my froach. In those days, we would meet, and then we would basically, we were transitioning, and I was really pushing him into, not gender transitioning, just by the way, if you're wondering. We were
Great
transitioning
clarification.
our
I think a
roles.
lot of people were wondering.
They probably were,
Does
especially in
Silas
your
used to be a
situation. We
woman?
mentioned cheerleading. We mentioned that.
Nursing.
Oh, this is
you
a
ripped
great
on me
podcast.
for cheerleading, but you never once made the suggestion that I shouldn't go for a girl job.
I thought it. All right.
You told me to go for
I
nursing.
know it's secure. It's a secure line of work, actually. So.
It is.
Yeah, a little more secure than mine. So we are, when we would meet, it would be very much like we would go over, okay, who in your life is taking over that role?
Yeah.
And you were meeting with several men at the college, older than you, through a little more situations than you.
Shout out Ryan Knight. If
Yep.
you're listening,
Ryan
I
Knight.
think actually he's going to come on next week, hopefully.
Okay. But that was awesome because it's not that I want to like pass the torch per se to just get out of responsibility, but you realize other men and women obviously have like a different perspective, still believers. It's good for our kids to have to work through, okay, this family does it a little bit differently, or this guy says things a little bit, you know, from this perspective, I got to
Yeah.
figure out mine. What's my perspective going to be? You don't just want to turn out, you know, mini me's. So when Silas was at college, wanting and still accepting help. Now, not all parents, just as a caveat, I guess, we were blessed in the sense of our kids went to a college that was within driving distance,
Yeah.
within 20 minutes driving distance. Most people don't have that, they don't
That's
have
a
that
good
in their
point.
access. So the phone is going to have to come into play, which isn't as good. I would say, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever is probably a little better, but
Why isn't it as good? Just to
you can't read body language. You can't you don't really know the situation. And if you call and they're kind of like in the middle of something, it just feels more rushed and less impactful. Better than nothing. One of my sons and I still meet every week on the phone for discipleship because he lives, several hours away. So I still appreciate that. And I think he does, but it's not as good as it
and from a
could be.
kid's perspective, in terms of the phone, a
Yep.
kid who was sometimes, believe it or not doing all the right things.
You?
It's a maybe. This
Okay.
is theoretical.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about bias here. It's a lot easier to lie over the phone,
Sure. Or just not not
or
maybe
not be
lie, but
totally
just-
forthcoming.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just withhold some stuff. Yeah.
I think part of the advantage of having your kids in the home and being able to speak into their life is you actually are able to see what's going on outside of what they tell you.
So let's talk about that kid just for 1 second so we can differentiate. So this mom asks, okay, the kids that are out of the house, so we gave a college example. We need to give a more practical example as well, like just a kid who moves out and's got a good job or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the kid that's like out of high school, working full time, still living in your home. So there's an American concept of I can't wait till you turn 18 because you're out of the house. I've never liked that. So I feel like, well, when my kids are 18, most of them, I want them around. They're good examples to the younger kids. They are helping with family chores, right? They're an asset here. They're not a liability at all. I don't even charge my kids rent when they still live at home if they're a healthy member of the family.
Yeah.
So mom has always been good about setting up okay, what are some like Carver would be one example of a kid who lived at home for a little while, but was commuting back and forth to college. So he had some home duties, some responsibilities. We would ask that he would, in some of his spare time, pour into the kids because he has a perspective we want them to have, right? And it's like, if they're a healthy member of the family, if you have room, right, then yeah, great, welcome them in, and it continues on. I can't think of very many situations where I would want a kid living in my house paying rent because he can't make it on his own, and this is just an easier road. I think that's going to lead to bitterness, probably broken relationships because the parents are sort of wanting him out, but he's paying money, so he feels like, well, I'm paying my rent. Why do I have to participate?
It's entitled.
Yeah, so that's a tough one to go down. I don't think I'd go down that road. If you have to, or if you have a small little mother-in-law quarters or something where maybe they're living briefly, I would really set that up well with well thought out, borders so you don't end up hurting the relationship. But for today, we'll keep talking about the kid living at home, in the house, the kid still under parent authority, like at college. But what about the kid now that's he has a job, he's got his own apartment, he's not married yet, or maybe he is married, but how much say do we have in that kid's life? Do we want say?
0.
Probably.
Well,
other than what he asks for.
So last semester at C of O, they always have a keynote speaker talk to all the parents of the incoming freshmen. And last semester, I wasn't there, but I heard about this talk. Apparently, it was really good. But the title of the talk was "Roll Out the Doormat and Shut Up," and it's talking about these kids these parents who are transitioning to their parents and are going to. I can't talk today at all. Their students are now going to college, and they're coming home. And what typically happens is the parents sort of jump straight back into that role of I'm your boss, and I'm going to tell you kind of what to do, and I'm going to share all my opinions with you about probably everything you're doing wrong. And their thought was, and I don't think the entirety of the talk was summed up in the title, but I think the start of it is correct, which is that your relationship starts to change in the sense of you're not there to be the boss anymore. I think you sort of, the parents transition into what you said, like the friend/coach.
Right.
It's pretty hard.
Well, Nazareth is going to be an amazing example of this in our life played out, I would say, for the first time. So it's going to be an interesting transition.
Oh, that boy needs some coach.
Yeah, because typically our kids commute
Yeah.
back and forth because, again, we live close. But now they're saying freshman kids, at least first semester, have to live there. So he's moving into college.
Eli didn't commute.
But I don't remember what that was like for some reason. I was in a blur. I don't know. It's my
I was jealous.
surgery
I had to
years.
commute for my first 2 years.
Yeah. So Nash will be living there, but he'll still want, because I know Nash is to want decent clothing. He won't want to be on his own. Now, I've told all my kids, if you're ready to make your own decisions, right, in the sense of you may ask my opinion, but you're really going to do what you want
Yeah.
regarding like relationships with females, regarding vehicle purchases or using vehicles of your own, things that are like, adult decisions, right? If you're wanting to make those things on your own, then you can't expect a house to come crash at or a refrigerator to come open and eat what you want just willy-nilly. It's got to be more like you would any other guest, just sort of arranged ahead of time. And yeah, we still want them over. We still want to have them hang out, right? But they're wanting the full decision-making authority with maybe your input if they ask. But those kids, I wouldn't subsidize in any way, because that subsidizing keeps you not in control. I could care less about control. It's more like helps them with guardrails for a little bit. Asa was that way. Asa wanted no guardrails or control, and he got it, right? So it's like, yeah, you can have that. And we weren't mad or anything. It was like, hey, you are a man. We've raised you. Yeah, if you want to be done, you're done. If you don't want to be done, right? Again, it's sort of like her question. It really boils down to what are both parties comfortable with? And does the parent have the ability to be bossy or whatever you want to call it, authoritative, if the kid really is fully, on their own? If they are, I'd say you only have what they allow you to have in a good, healthy relationship way. But if you're subsidizing in any form, they're giving you authority.
Yeah.
And they should expect it. I think the bitterness comes in when parents are taking that and they really aren't contributing, or the parents are contributing a lot and the kid just acts like mom and dad are just in the way. And it's like, well, if they're in the way, then step out.
Because I think it just creates a lot of entitlement in a kid if you're telling him,
expectations.
we'll give you everything you want and kind of do everything you want. But somehow we have no say in your life. And when we try to have a say, you usually get mad or frustrated or like, well, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're an adult in age, but not in practice.
So the difference, right, is clarity.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
It's like
Boundaries meaning
communication.
like people will read like that book Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend and think, oh, yeah, we have to give our kids the space. It's like, well, where are they in life?
Yeah.
Right. Again, if they're fully supporting themselves, then yes, that's correct. But if they're needing your help to survive still, reality is they're under your authority. I mean, it's going to create friction if you do it any other way, I think. Because it's hard even doing it that way.
So, Zane, you haven't talked a whole lot this episode.
Yeah, Zane, come on.
So you are fully subsidizing your kid. Subsidized basically when you say that, you just mean you're paying for everything, right? Cars, insurance, phones, food, whatever.
Clothing.
But you do want your kid who's now 17, 18, college or not college, doesn't really matter. He's still living at home, but you do want him to start to learn to make a lot of adult decisions. Because the point here isn't you're a dictator.
No.
Hot word this morning.
We won't say anything about.
Hey, no.
Don't edit that out. It's an inside joke from years and years ago.
Anyway, you don't want to be like, the goal isn't to be a dictator. The goal is to raise independent children who make good choices. So what are some practical ways parents can start to step into that and push their kids into that while still maintaining authority? This is, to clarify, before their kid leaves the home.
Sure. So the first Bible verse that pops into my mind and thinking about this issue is honor your father and your mother, the 10 Commandments. I think that this is a command not just limited to children,
not a suggestion,
like young kids, right? But you should be honoring your parents for as long as they're your parents.
Yeah.
So you're 60, they're 80. You're still supposed to show them honor. It doesn't change just because you're now out on your own. And so I think with that, you don't just honor them by, loving them, checking in on them, those types of things, but you honor them by seeking their advice, their counsel, seeing them as playing an important role in your life still. So this is really from the kid's perspective, the kid's angle. But how are you teaching your kids now, if they're in the home, that is an important aspect of authority, to honor your parents. So I think that's a big part of it. that we need to talk about. And also just in talking about kids that have left the house, I haven't experienced that obviously with my own children, but I have experienced it with some of the kids that I've discipled at the program.
Yeah.
Because it almost feels, I imagine, similar.
Yeah, very
You
similar.
pour into the kids for like 2 years, and then they're graduating the program, and they're going to go back. A lot of times not moving back in with their families. A lot of times going and starting a job or going to college or going into the military. And my advice and my counsel to them leading up to that point is, wherever you're going, you need to be ready to know what's going to be required for you to flourish in that environment.
Yeah.
So
Interjection real quick.
yeah,
Because everything you're saying is right on, but like the teeth to it, right? Give me a practical way of doing that. I think goes to exactly what we said about Silas a little bit ago, which is, who are you replacing me with?
yeah,
And it's not that, oh, I'm so important, I'm the dad. It's like it's somebody else who knows their life, is watching the boundaries, and they're sort of keeping your kids safe. Like when you came to work at Future Men, right? Week 1, we immediately said, okay, you have to be in a discipleship relationship. And I think you and I were together that first year you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, so immediately we're asking questions. We're finding out, what are your struggles? What are your weaknesses? What are you reading to grow in, right? We're basically being the role of your dad. And your dad, honestly, at that point can almost be like, oh, awesome. The baton is sort of handed off. He may never get it again, other than just random, especially now because you're married, right? You've moved on. But now he's got that more like in a, as we ask for it. But when you were still sort of like not established yet, you sought out like the replacement person. That's what I think. If we're training our kids to anything, it should be that. It's like I was telling Nash the other day, it's like, I need to know by the end of like the second or third week at college, okay, so who's doing it? And I don't want a peer. Your peers are useless in a sense of like, for accountability's sake, maybe a little bit, but like, who in your life actually would have some authority over you still? It could be your RA, it could be your RD, it could be, the chaplain at the college, whatever, or somebody. But it's got to be someone. Because if you don't, it's pie in the sky, Christian, glad handing statements of like, I don't know. I feel like that's the practical step that if we're training our kids to, and we're making sure they're doing it, then we're going to have some safety. We're going to have some like peace knowing, okay, they've been handed off, so to speak.
Well, I think the interesting thing here with all of that is that, well, let me say two things. First of all, when you're talking about second or third week, like I should know some people you're talking to. And there's two parts of that. And the first part is that like, you're not expecting in 2 or 3 weeks when they go to college to find their like lifelong mentor.
Right.
Don't have that expectation, but you are expecting they're pursuing those relationships with older guys that are willing to like pour into them. And the reality is that your kids, if you're doing this correctly, and if your kids are doing it correctly, they're going to come into contact with people. They're going to make such a great mentor and discipleship partner. They get together with them for lunch for a few times, and they're like, oh, this guy is not it.
Right.
And, and that's good. And it's a great thing for your kid to be able to show discernment in that way. The other thing, and this is the more important thing here for where we're at right now, is when you're talking about your kid, it sounds kind of stupid that like your kid or you even as the parent should have someone that is like constantly discipling you. But just to like a reminder, it's a biblical commandment that you go and make disciples. And I don't think that means make Christians and then leave.
Right.
And then B, like look at Tiger Woods, who's the best golfer of all time. He's got a coach, and it's not like he's like, I'm the very best. I've done it. I've reached my pinnacle. I don't need the help of an older, wiser guy. I mean, he truly is the best that's ever been. There's no one better.
What about Michael Jordan? I think he's pretty good too.
He doesn't play golf.
He does play golf.
Well,
And he thought he was better for a while.
did he really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know this.
Michael Jordan, if you're listening, shout out, baby.
Anyway, Steph Curry's also insanely good at golf. Have you seen Steph Curry play?
I hate sports. You know that.
Yeah. Anyway, Steph Curry's very good at golf. It doesn't matter. The point here is that the very best in the world, arguably or not, have coaches.
Yep.
And they have enough humility and enough life experience to know I'm not going to do it all right. And I'm going to have blind spots in my swing. I'm going to have blind spots in the decisions I'm making with my wife or my kids or my college career and my friendships. And so I would if you can encourage your kids in anything, because for a lot of them, this may be a foreign concept, especially if you haven't done it before. So now to introduce it all of a sudden, it's pretty kind of come out of left field and be like, wait, you want me to have a mentor? Like what? I
Right.
need a
How
coach
do I
for
even
just
find one?
general life?
Well, and I think I remember you telling me one time when you were talking about one of your older sons, Walker, when he
Mhm.
moved to Tennessee, he really struggled finding that person or
Oh,
those
yeah.
people. And you guys were doing it over the phone for a while, but you even said, like you did today, that's not the best because they're not there and they don't see everything that's going on. And I think this is more like a challenge or maybe a rebuke, even take it how you will, to our to our culture and Christianity. Like I think college age programs and stuff have value and they can be good, but a lot of times those become like college students like outlet for
Right.
getting
Commiserating.
all of their
Yep.
their fellowship with other believers. But the problem is you're just filling a room full of people kind of in the same stage of life,
Yeah.
and you're limiting their interaction with the older, wiser people in the church. So I'm not saying get rid of all college ministry, but for this mom who's asking this question, if you want to encourage your kids who are out of the home, I don't know if college is where they're at, if it's that age group. They don't have to actually be in college, but early 20s, you should probably encourage your kids to go and find that person. And they're going to have to go and find that person. They're not just going to be like handed to them on a silver platter.
So let's talk about Walker for 1 second.
Mhm.
So when Walker first went to Tennessee, he was very much like, Silas is kicking me again.
You don't have to point it out every time I do.
Oh, I
it,
do.
but okay.
I don't talk to the mic very well. When Silas went to Tennessee, the man that was going to be his direct boss for
When
a couple
Walker
years.
went to Tennessee. is
Yeah,
what
what
he
did I
meant
say,
to
Silas?
Yeah.
Sorry, Walker.
You went to Tennessee.
He did.
I did.
He's been there. But when Walker went there, the man that he went to go be under was an amazing Christian man. We still love their family very much, even though a couple of their daughters rejected a couple of our sons. If you're
Womp
listening,
womp.
Philip Rack, they're talking about you. Amazing people. But anyway, he was very busy.
Yeah.
He was busy in his church, busy. He's teaches at UT. I mean, but he was willing to like sort of oversee Walker. But Walker and I both were like, that won't cut it. You got to
Yeah.
find somebody who can meet with you weekly. And so he started at his church. He literally made cards with his contact information on it. And just as he would see different men in the church that he thought could be good leaders, right? He based it on, are they have any kind of church responsibilities? Do they look older and kind of together? He would hear different things. He started giving these cards out to people with like, here's how you can contact me if you would like to disciple someone. And he felt stupid. He felt awkward. I mean, we would talk about this, but he finally found somebody. And it's like, it is a weird thing to go look because churches don't typically have something set up to where it's just like, hey, if you need a mentor, sign this sheet, we'll get you one.
Yeah.
Right? We're doing that at our church now. And I'm praying it really flourishes, but it seems like a new concept. And it's like, why is
Which
this
is
a
so
new
dumb.
concept?
Like it shouldn't be.
No,
Like,
but
this is.
it just
I don't know where at what point it went away because I think it used to be a lot more popular.
well, it
than
still
is.
happens organically, which is fantastic. The
Yeah.
problem is people who are new or shy. The organic is tough.
Yeah.
So you kind of
That's
need
fair.
something more. Hey, we'll put you with somebody. But anyway, that's what I would tell this mom. You got to probably lay it out how you go to it because we do this to Future Men boys. The boys who really own their stay at Future Men, right? They're amazing kids and they want to grow. They're excited, and I'm like, I warn them. It's going to feel like no one cares in the sense of why doesn't someone want to disciple me?
Mm-hmm.
You get to go to your church leadership, maybe the old youth pastor, and maybe somebody else, and just say, "This is what I'm looking for. Can you provide that?" And sometimes men jump on that and think this is an awesome opportunity. I'm glad somebody wants it. But other times the kids flourish for sometimes weeks.
Yeah.
Or not flourish,
flounder.
I'm sorry. Yeah, flounder. So it's like, what a bummer.
Yeah. I think it's just so far removed from modern day culture and like normal that you really stand out. It feels weird. It feels kind of nerdy
Or forced.
and forced. And the other thing is, if you're older listening to this, a lot of times I think people deal with a lot of insecurity. Like, well, I haven't lived that great a life. I can't mentor someone. And the reality is, like, they're not going to you for all your sage wisdom. It's truly just like, hey, you watch me live life. You've lived life longer. What do you see, that I can do better? And then a lot of times you're just there to sort of learn from you. They're there to learn from your mistakes. Because I think a lot of times we all know, like I told my wife this because she was talking about like a younger girl she meets with. And I'm like, she's always like, well, what do I say? I'm like, really? When I meet with kids, like, I just tell them everything I did wrong. And I'm like, because we've all done a lot of things wrong. And your goal is just like, hey, here's what I messed up. And here's
Don't
where
do like this.
I can see you kind of leaning that direction. What can we do to correct that course? And you're not there as mom or dad. You're not there as like their authoritarian, weird older friend. It's like, hey, man, here's where I messed this up. And I see you sort of lean in that same direction. What can we do to fix it?
Well, yeah, and to encourage that, right? When parents drop their young men off at Future Men, right? A lot of times it'll be like, they won't. The parents are used to, they're not listening. They don't want anybody's input. They think they know it all. But it's surprising. I mean, literally the first or second time you start meeting with this kid, because now it's like we assign them, right?
Yeah.
They talk and they want to talk. It's a weird thing. It's like most of us want relationship, and we don't tell them anything different for the most part, because most of these parents, choose our program because it lines out, doctrinally with what they believe. So it's not like this is new information. It's somebody else, and it's just somebody, purposely doing it. There's an old saying, right? Those who can do, those who can't teach, right? Or coach. And it's like, that's sort of like this. When you said, we just tell them, hey, you're heading down this road. I think it's bad because I've been there a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. It's like, you don't want to glory in shame, right? You definitely don't want them to feel like we relate, thus we can talk. It's like, well, you can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
There was a girl at a program I used to work at. Her name was Amy. I shouldn't pay her last name, I guess. But anyway, she was a neat kid. But I asked her one time, I said, would you have been my friend in the real world? She laughed. She's like, no way. She said, you drive a station wagon, you're old, you have all these kids. I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah. But we were really good friends. And she really shared some things that like changed her life, right? Because she was willing to open up. And it's like, and again, that was just in a classroom setting. I wasn't even meeting with her one-on-one because I don't do that with girls. But it's like, but even just that, the camaraderie of just somebody different in your life with a slightly different perspective because they're a little older, they listen.
Yeah.
And that's all she needed. And it's like discipleship's even better.
I think you're right. It's better. It's almost better when your kid grows up and it's not you anymore. Because A, it takes a load off your shoulders. But B, sometimes it's a lot easier. Like, it's easier if I mess up big time to go to someone before I go to you.
Right.
Like, we'll still talk about it a lot of times. So I'm like, I'm going to go talk to this person, kind of get over that initial, like, this gut feeling of, like, it's easier to disappoint someone that's not your dad or your mom. And then the other part of that
or to be told, I told you so, or you'll never change.
And
I think, see, this is you again. All the water under the bridge.
I think when you're talking about parenting a kid that is out of the house, right, I think you would be very wise. This is family studies, so close your ears, Dad. When your kid comes to you and they share a situation they're in that's pretty tough, it could be a broken down car, could be a broken relationship, who knows what it is. They're out of the home, they come to you, you're talking on the phone, they're home in the living room, who cares? They give you this whole story. I think it's a really good question to ask this person, like, what's your first reaction to hearing that? Because I think as parents, it's often, oh, here's how you can fix it. Or, oh, man, I told you when you bought that car or when you started dating her, remember I told you that this would probably happen? And it's like, that is a great way to ensure your kid probably doesn't come back the next time they're in the same situation.
Right.
And I think it's almost like where you said, where you watch that relationship change to more of a friend/coach. Like when I talk with my wife, believe it or not, I'm very prone to not listening. And instead just being like, oh, well, if you just do this, you wouldn't be here. Like typical dude. And I think we get caught in that same trap with the kids. And it's like, oh, well, if you just made the right decision, it's like, oftentimes I don't need you to give your opinion right off the bat. Just kind of shut up, listen, and then slowly respond with that, quickly respond while gauging their attitude. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say here.
How they're owning it, their response. Yeah.
Yeah. Your goal isn't to fix the situation for them anymore. And because you're their parent, I think that's usually your intention.
Well, yeah, but there's a real reality of when I ask kids, like at Future Men, right? What's the worst thing you've done? You're already here, so it's not like it's going to get worse. You're like, it's already being in jail, right? The sentence has been declared. They want you to graduate here. So what else don't they know? And typically the parents know about, I would say 50 to 65% of what their kid's doing wrong. But sometimes it's that other 25% or whatever that's like, that's pretty ugly. And they'll say it. They'll just tell us. They'll tell me at least. And it's like, well, I've done this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, well, now we need to fix those things. And I always get them to where it's like, you do need to share this with your parents. And it's not like I'm the priest and what you say to me never leaves, right? It's more like your parents love you and they have a vested interest for the rest of your life. This would be beneficial for them to know. How do you break it to them? How do you let them in on this without feeling like a failure or without them just like throwing their hands up and thinking they've lost the war? It's like, no. He wants to change these things. He doesn't want to control his life anymore.
And I think that's a huge step for the Future Men kids, right? And their parents. Because I think it's a hard transition from taking your kid to a boarding school to, in a way, like kind of get them back under control and safe to be at home. Because up until that point, they've sort of been a problem. And I think parents can have really, really damaged relationships when their kids are truly wanting to do this, to like change, like what you're saying. But I would imagine, you guys can speak to this a lot more, there's a lot of parents out there who continue to treat their son like sort of like a problem to be fixed and dealt with. And every time they say like the littlest thing, they're like, oh, well, let's fix that right now, you know?
Yeah, or every time the kid barely stumbles a little bit, they feel like, see, nothing's changed. Because they've been burned many, many times, because the parents have been burned. That's the difference. We don't have a vested interest in them, right? So it's easy for me to say this, like from my little ivory tower, like, oh, well, we can give this kid great counsel. And this reality is because you didn't feel the kick in the teeth, 35 times prior to this. So it's not that we have to feel that, but the reality is I understand it, especially as a dad. My kids have like had many deep problems, right?
Not me, but
Well, yeah. But that's okay. I think that's the body of Christ, where it's like, somebody else is coming alongside now, and we're doing the watering for a little while. And you tilled some hard land, and man, that's a bummer. You had to pull all those rocks out of the soil, right? But it's ready now.
Yeah.
And we water a little bit. You're going to start seeing some increase, and it's like, let's just all be grateful for this. It's not like no one part of that is more important than the other than the Holy Spirit, His role. It's God makes the change. So it's like we should be grateful for whatever part we get to play in that. So I think that's maybe what she's asking, right? How do I sort of keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but not overstep it, and make sure they are actually seeking outside of me or somewhere else in their sphere of influence. So,
yeah. So I think in summary, just encouraging your kids to find those people wherever they are, and they're going to have to go out and find them and be intentional about it, is probably the most important thing you can do at that stage when they're outside the home. Because for accountability, for counsel, all these things. And I think one of the reasons why this is hard too is because there is this mentality I think Americans have. As soon as you're 18, you just have to make it on your own.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You go out into the world.
All eyes are on you.
And it's like, if I don't make it, it's like this pride thing. So I think you have to overcome that and realize, oh, I'm not going to make it on my own. I'm ripe for temptation, and I'm ripe for all these things, because really they aren't under your protection the way that they have been, seemingly for 18 years. And so there are going to be a lot of stumbling blocks that are going to be put in front of them. So if they don't have that community around them helping them through that, the way that a lot of 20-something-year-olds don't these days, because they move away.
Most.
And I think that probably has plays a big role in why there's so many that age that leave the faith, because they go outside of their community that they've been a part of, and they're just thrown into the world, and they really make the wrong friends, and they don't prioritize the right things. And parents are just kind of left wondering, like, what did I do wrong? And maybe really all it was you didn't. Alls.
You say that a lot.
He's a hillbilly.
I love it.
Alls it was.
He is from Arkansas. Come on.
Oh. Is that they didn't know how to plant themselves where they or to grow where they were planted.
Yeah. I think if I can encourage this mom specifically, or any moms,
don't cry.
If I could talk like I don't have a horse up my nose, that'd be great. I was talking to, who was it? I was with you. Oh, it was Kyle's mom. I was talking to one of my best friends now, but I was talking to his mom yesterday, and this guy went to Future Men back in, I think, 2016, 2015.
A while back.
Anyway, and she asked me a question about your guys' parenting style, and we talked about that. But I said something that I was like, oh man, that's actually like, I think that applies here, which is when your kids leave the home and when your kids are inside the home, it's black and white to be legalistic and a dictator, and it's black and white to be, you can do whatever you want. You'll always have grace and acceptance.
Oh yeah, it's just as bad.
But I think the reality is we have to be in the gray area of it's both. It is always both. And it's way easier to be one or the other. And it's the same thing when your kid leaves the house. It's way easier to either be the legalistic mother or father that's like, you're doing the wrong things. I told you this is how it was going to be, blah, blah, blah. And it's also really easy to be like, oh, whatever you do, honey, we're so proud of you. And they're living on their friend's couch because they're making horrible financial choices and convinced they're going to make it as a Minecraft streamer. You know, that's like, I don't know who that would be in my head, but anyway,
Eli.
it's but I think the reality is the spot we have to find ourselves is in that gray area of the discipleship and the accountability, but also the grace. And I think the only way to get there is what you said, which is primarily through the Holy Spirit and through a lot of prayer and thinking and praying and reading and being wise. And it's just not easy, and you can't expect it to be easy ever.
One way that gray area like plays out is when you do give them counsel, or they actually do come to you and you give a response. Make sure it's caveated with, I'm not waiting for you to say, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Or to watch their response. And as a kid taking the response, you know, if you're listening, you know, you don't have to immediately accept it or reject it. I mean, you're just listening to it. Like my wife and I have this thing where every once in a while, if in the situation, I'll say something like, hey, I'm going to tell you something. I want you to respond tomorrow, not today. I want you to think about it for a while first. Because initial thoughts aren't usually like well received.
Yeah.
Especially when you're very different. Like we're very different. And like I know with our kids, sometimes we can be very different as well. So just know that if you tell them something, give them the ability to like just sit there and like let it soak in without like having to accept it or reject it. That's what usually causes the fights or the like, I'll never ask him anything again. Because like if they don't accept your counsel, it might be one of those learning times, like you said. They have to, learn the hard way sometimes.
Well, the other thing is sometimes you're wrong.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sometimes they're going to have other counsel that was right. And it's like,
or better. Yeah. It
Yeah.
might not be wrong or right. It's just better.
Yeah.
So it's good.
And I think another thing to note and should not be overlooked is prayer. As a parent, you should be praying for your kids, even before they're out of the house. That's one thing that has really stood out to me about my wife's family. Like her dad grew up, or as they were growing up, every Monday he spent fasting and praying for each of his kids, that they would grow up and love the Lord, and they would meet a spouse that loves the Lord and would lead their family well, and that their grandkids would
Seems like
love
it paid
the Lord.
off.
And yeah, every single one of them is walking with the Lord, and is like a healthy, strong member of the family. And so I think sometimes we're like, as parents, we're like, what can we control? How what practically can I do? And I think we just need to remember that prayer is a huge part of that, because the Holy Spirit really is going to be the biggest factor in your kid after and what they're doing and the decisions they're making after they leave your house.
Well, I think I was talking to my wife the other day about a family situation in prayer, and we were talking about the fact that it usually feels like the last resort. Like, I guess I'll just pray for them. Like, there's nothing else I can do. And it's like, it's funny that we treat we treat it as last resort, when in reality, if we believe what we say we believe, it's the most powerful tool we have.
Mm-hmm.
We usually end up going to it last.
When we're empty of our resources.
Yeah. And so it's like, it was just a good reminder of, it's not just, because she said in the conversation, well, I guess I'll just have to keep praying. I'm like, there's no just there. Like, that's the most powerful thing we can do. But it feels weak because we don't have anything to do with it. So we kind of have an inflated view of self there. But it really is the most powerful thing you can do for your kids, grown or growing.
I think if you do that and you let them know you're doing it, right? It's different than just giving the Christianese or glad hand response of, well, just, as long as you're good with the Lord, just pray about it. Because sometimes we'll say that as parents. I've heard that before. And it's like, yes, but I need an answer right now. I need a response. And you may not have one like Jules didn't. And I think you're right. I think that's actually a good place to be if you're acknowledging them, if you're like following up with them, even if it's just to pray again.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, well, some situations you don't get out of and like, one setting, there's things that can go on for years. So anyway.
Yeah, and rather than just jumping right to trying to solve the problem as a parent, you just ask your kid, what can I be praying for you about? And then you pray for them.
I was going to say that and be super specific. Don't be like, well, okay, I'll be praying for you. It's like, hey, what do you need prayer for this week? I think just starting there too.
And pray with them.
If you're starting your relationship where you really want to disciple your kid, I think just starting with that question of like, hey, what can I pray for you this week specifically? Like mom used to ask us that. She doesn't anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't care anymore.
Mom, if you're listening, you should start asking that again.
So she used to write on the mirror every kid's name. We had little like note cards, and it was there. Like she went from, it might have been a monthly request ish to a yearly request ish. Now the mirror's empty, and mom is like super. She's very like on it. So it's probably more my fault. She's definitely way busy, and she definitely has like her hand heavy in the game, but that is a good like thing to do. The reminders on the mirror make you see it every day, and it's like I used to not like the mirror all cluttered up because I'm a clean guy. Get my kids' needs out of there. I can't shave with this crap. So I kind of get it, but anyway.
Well, I think I'll end on this sort of. I think for the kid, when you ask them, "Hey, what can I be praying for you for?" They tell you, and you shut up and you do pray for them. They realize, wow, they have nothing to gain. Like they're really like only just praying for them. They're not telling me their opinions here. They're not telling me what they think. They're really just praying for me. And if you're a kid, I think it's very powerful because they're seeing you really care. Like obviously you care about your kids, but let me tell you, as a child, children are dumb. Like, we
they don't always know it.
We're always going to consider, like, I'm always like, yeah, but they have an ulterior, they just want to control my life. It's like, they probably don't.
I love to control your lifestyle.
But it's like you don't, but it's like, why do they want to control me? It's like, oh, maybe they care.
Yeah.
So I think doing this is just a way to show your kids, like, I have nothing to gain here. I'm truly only here to like pray for you and serve you in that way. And I think it's just a very healthy, helpful thing to be super specific on that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we are quickly running out of time here. If you're still with us and you're listening still, I think this week you should try to comment something that you need prayer for. And Zane, our director of content, will be praying for you this week.
Good job, Zane.
And you can send some to us too, so we can all shoulder the load together.
Yeah.
Any other like
that was a volunteer thing. To do? So if you're listening and you're really enjoying it, go join our school community. It's the top link in the show notes. It is where we will have, meaning it's not there yet, so don't be surprised. A lot more resources, a lot more specific guides of how to start these relationships with your kids and when it comes to discipleship, books you can go through, questions you can be asking, blogs, a million different things. We're going to have that all up there. It's free right now, but it won't be free forever. So go join. And then if you are enjoying what you're hearing, please comment and like and subscribe on these videos. It helps us a ton. And it's a really big sign to the platforms that we host on that people like this and they should show it to other people.
That'd be a good prayer request for us. I mean, honestly, because there's some things like when you mentioned the schools and we'll have stuff on this, on our website. I get really excited about it, but but all of us at this table still have a life to lead in the sense of something has to pay the bills. It would be nice if this could transition into that.
True.
But that's going to mean it's going to take people listening, sharing, and honestly, that's the biggest thing. Is like we don't need to sell a bunch of junk. You just got to like get people to listen and like be blessed by it, and God can like provide the increase just through however the SEO stuff works. So please share.
Amen. Jesus said, "If you love me, feed my sheep." Dad says, "If you love me, share this episode."
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll see you next week.